All right, guys. Well, welcome back to the shop. I'm still working on Stacy's 2021 Jayco Eagle, where we did a complete off-grid setup for him. The very last thing I have to do is install some soft starts for the ACs. It doesn't really need it, but I do prefer to have them on this for the system we installed. And I'm tired enough that I want to make this a shorter video. Today we're going to be using the Coleman Mach soft start. So this is developed strictly from Airxcel for the Coleman roof ACs instead of the universal ones that Micro Air developed. There's like Spartan, I think the Amazon brand, and a few other soft starts out there that are more universal. This one's directly designed for the Coleman roof ACs on an RV. I didn't even know they made these, so I thought if I didn't know, maybe you guys didn't know. I was hoping that they'd be a little bit easier since they wouldn't be universal. And they are a little bit easier. I know with most soft starts, their instructions can be quite confusing because they're for 3 to 5 different AC units, and sometimes you have to download instructions and talk to the manufacturer of the soft start to understand how it works. But for some people, what is a soft start? When is it necessary? And if they're so important, why don't they just build the ACs with it? Well, they're really only necessary if you have a small generator, less than 3,600 watts to start an AC unit. The initial surge of starting the compressor is a little bit higher than the surge rating of the generator. So on the smaller generators that are like 2,000 or 2,500 watt, they can run the AC, but they can't start the AC. The soft start just gives you an extra little soft start or push start to start the compressor and get it going without killing the generator. Now on this setup, we went completely off-grid with 2 Victron inverters down in the basement. So these ACs are both powered by the inverters. And I know AC units in the Arizona heat, they take a lot of abuse as far as all the contacts between all the relays and the wiring connections. And so I'd prefer not to have the connections inside the Victron controller take that brunt of that initial surge. They're rated at about 3,000 watts. They are pretty smart and durable, but 3,000 isn't true wattage on it. It's very confusing with Victron. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to show you how to install these soft starts from Coleman pretty easily. Now for me, it was very easy to know that this was a Coleman Mach 15, but it does say Coleman, and I can almost see Mach 15 AC unit right there. First thing we have to do is just take off the 4 bolts that hold the shroud on. All right, you know what? I did cheat and I installed this soft start on the front AC already, so I kind of already know how this goes, and it is pretty simple. So the kit comes with everything you need. You don't need to add anything else, though I will, because, you know, I'm extra like that. The soft start's right there. This is a 3M tab on the back right there. And it also comes with what I do like is a mounting bracket for it. Most of the universal soft starts, you just kind of have to find a place to put it, and sometimes there's not a place to put it that makes sense. You know, the instructions are pretty straightforward because they show a picture of the AC for the instructions. So if you don't have that Mach 15 and you have a low profile Mach 8 like these right here, that's all you have to do is follow the picture. If you don't have that one, we have this one here. So the first step is to take the shroud off. The second step is to mount this box to this mount or bracket, just like that. And it does send you the screws that it goes with. Now, just to be a little extra, we'll pull the tab off and stick it on. I'm just using the 4 screws. They're very, very tiny. They hardly grab on. Simple. Next thing we're going to do is just cut the zip ties loose and free those harnesses. Now all I have to do is mount it on the side of the fan motor there. There's already 2 screws here, so just take out the 2 screws. And I did definitely appreciate when you see it on there, they spaced it away from the screws on the top, so the screws line up with a little bit of space on it. It's pretty brilliant. So just secure it there and there. Now we're gonna route the harness underneath the fan motor there and follow the rest of the harnesses over there. Look at that, that was simple. Next step is to open up the cover where the connections are. There's just those two screws right there, but I do want to make sure that there's no power connected or inverters on, generator running. Get that out of the way. Gives access to the capacitors down here. What I think is interesting is they don't have start capacitors on here anymore. So they don't have the hard start kit, which would be a black capacitor with a usually tiny looking component on top of it. And if we look at the instructions, they label it right there, start capacitor, the one in the back with a PTCR. That's like a start relay on it. It's all solid state. I'm really surprised they stopped putting that in there. I don't know if the compressors don't require it anymore or what, but I'm surprised by that. So really the next thing we need to do is free up this butyl for the wiring harness. I'll save that for later. And there should be a zip tie right here. I'll cut that zip tie loose. That is on the instructions to cut the zip tie. Now if your AC does have a start capacitor in the back, you're supposed to remove it and remove the wiring for it. If it were me, I would probably just leave it on there. Otherwise you'll have to take the band that goes around all these capacitors and adjust the height on the adjustable strapping right there. It's kind of a pain to get those tight again, so I would probably just leave it in place and just take the wires off. That way it's there if you need it. Another thing that most people are really worried about are capacitors. Just like when you touch them, they're going to shock you and kill you. They generally self-charge pretty easily. I don't waste too much time putting a screwdriver across the terminal of it. Of course, you do what you'd want to do. I've never ran into that being necessary. It might be best practice to discharge capacitors normally, but at the very least, do make sure that if you do get electrocuted, you're not going to fall off the roof. Just fall on your face on the roof. So we'll just go ahead and feed all the harnesses through that bushing there, where I moved all the putty or the dum-dum. Okay, so I pulled all the slack through there. That was simple. And the other important thing to know is I don't have a heat pump. If I did have a heat pump, there'd be a reversing valve mounted to the compressor right here and a little bit more pipes. And if you did have a high pressure or a pressure relay right there, you'd need to know about that too, but I don't have that. This is just a simple AC unit. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is remove the white wire from the capacitor right here. That was simple. Very easy. Now we're just going to cut off that spade connector, strip it back, and what they wanted you to use was red wire nuts. I'm not a big fan of red wire nuts. Too fond of, so what I'll end up using are these bell nuts or speed nuts. Very similar to what RVP and Coleman used here. I would use Wago lever connectors too, but I know a lot of people are unhappy with those and don't trust them, but these would work too. All right, so strip that off. Now the white wire from the soft start kit is already pre-stripped. You just have to pull off the wire. I'm gonna twist them together, and using my speed nut, I'll put that on there, and then I'm gonna crimp it. Too easy. The next thing we're going to do is connect the yellow wire from the soft start to the run capacitor, basically on the same side as the yellow wire over here. So it's already color coded for you. If anything, it's basically where we took that white wire off. On these systems, yellow is very often synonymous with neutral. The next instruction says connect the red wire from the soft start to the run capacitor. Now, this is the run capacitor. There's a red wire from the soft start box over there. It's already got the spade terminal on it. There's a red wire on that start capacitor, or the run capacitor, not the start capacitor. Make sure that goes on. Look at that. I only have one wire left, and this is black wire, and this is the most complicated part of the whole thing. I pointed out that this is not a heat pump, and this does not have a pressure relay on it. So there's three variables or 3 different types of wiring scenarios for the black wire. And it lays out right here what those 3 scenarios are. Air conditioner with no relay for the pressure switch, heat pump with a freeze board with the no high pressure relay, or heat pump AC with that pressure relay. I'm going to be the first one. Very simple. So it tells me to cut the purple wire and black wire and remove the wire nut. Now this is the purple wire that's coming from the umbilical down to the control box inside, and generally this is what is feeding power to the compressor if you're ever doing technical troubleshooting. So there's a purple wire and the black wire, and that just leaves the black wire from the soft start. It already has a double spade connector on there. We aren't going to be using that. We cut it off. Just going to go ahead, strip these back, black, and purple, and connect all of them together again. Again, the kit does come with these red wire nuts. I'm not going to be using them. I don't really like them in this application. Push those together. Got my speed nut right there. We'll put it on. And I'll just crimp it in. And that's it. It's all wired. Really, the last thing for us to do, it does give us zip ties. We need to secure the harness again. So I did cut the harness in here, so let me put a zip tie in there. That was pretty simple, and I'll just cut it right there. I'm just going to put a few more zip ties here to secure it to the harnesses that already existed on the fan and the compressor. It is nice that it came with some zip ties. It's also nice that it comes with a new bushing, a snap-in bushing right there. These do get brittle over time, so if that would have broken, you could replace it very easily. It is split, so you don't have to feed all the wires back out again. You can put the wires through it and then snap it in place. In the kit, you're going to get a new weatherproofing butyl. I'm not sure there's any real skill to installing butyl tape. This is just butyl tape, basically standard stuff in the RV world. And we're just going to work it around. Kind of pushing it in the wires in the hole. Bam. Very easy. I'll just put this cover back on. It has the 2 screws down there. That's installed now. Yeah, that compressor is bent a little bit. I think this AC got hit a little bit, but it is working. And really, that's the installation. No more installations. Seal panel on sealant with parts package, and that's it. We're done. Easy peasy. Clean up my mess down here. Okay, you do get 4 self-tapping screws, but yeah, really simple. You can't do those instructions wrong because it's not universal, and for the technician in the field, they'll be able to know how it's supposed to be wired because the wiring schematic's on there. And it is developed strictly for Coleman. I don't know if it's compatible with any other ones. I'm sure they're using all the same technology. I'm honestly surprised it took Coleman and Dometic this long. I think almost 10 years to come out with a soft start of their own, ever since, like I said, I think Micro Air, and they do the smart thermostats too, were the first ones to kind of develop a soft start for these AC units. So the last thing we have to do is turn the AC unit on and check the operation of it. All right, so let's see. That was a soft start. I didn't see any initial ramp up, so it's hard for me to say. From my understanding, it's just a little bit more complicated electronics that start the compressor a little bit slowly instead of that initial hard jolt like you start in a lawnmower. You'll be starting it slowly. Really, my biggest concern about the whole thing was not damaging the inverters when these ACs start. I'm sure the Victrons can handle it. They're very resilient. But I've also seen all the wiring and relays on all these ACs burn pretty easily, because in Arizona these AC units never turn off. They run 24 hours a day in the middle of the sun, and having black shrouds doesn't help with their efficiency either. I just thought it was kind of interesting that Coleman now makes their own soft start, conceding that they are pretty good and useful in the industry. And I thought the people might want to know that they were available. I think the Medic has their own too, and it seems even simpler. I think the Medic's actually just plugs into the umbilical. Not that I have any brand loyalty whatsoever, but I've installed the Spartans off of Amazon. I think those are out of Australia. Pretty simple installations. Again, they're hard to find out where to place them once they're installed. And because they're universal, it can get a little bit complicated. I think these are, of course, priced a little bit higher than the generic soft starts, but about the same price as the micro AC or micro air soft starts. A lot less complicated to install. I didn't have to start and stop it 5 times for it to learn its programming, and doesn't have any LEDs you have to worry about looking at. I think most major dealers stock this now. That's it for this installation video. It's hot, I'm tired. This job's finally done. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Is far superior, is generally higher. The surge to start the compressor on the AC unit. Okay, the next step is to open up the electric box. The next step is to open up the connections